Hey guys, glad to have you watching. In this video I will be showing you the do-it-yourself setup I have made for my Messor Barbarus and how I made it. Like most of you will know, Messor Barbarus is an ant species that mainly eats seeds. They receive their sugars from seeds as well. The ants love to dig, and as soon as the colony reached around 100 workers, I gave them some substrate to dig in. You can see the ants have done a lot of digging, but the small plexiglass terrarium is getting really dirty. The ants pooped all over the wall, and normally it's not that big of a problem, but there's a lot, and it's in the tunnels as well. Just wiping it away wouldn't work this time, so it was time for something completely new and fresh. Let me show you what materials I used to make this. For starters, some plexiglass, a transparent container or Outworld. I used some wood for the lid, ameisen polymax as a glue for the inside wall, but I assume that hot glue works as well, but it's a lot more messy. A plastic cutter or knife, and a permanent marker. Something to measure with, some tape, and adapters for the tubing. I got mine from Antfarm. A multi-tool or Dremel. A little bit of extra fine mesh for the lid. A hole saw bit. A little bit of tension for Lily. Some clamps. Some paint. I am using black. And as last, an LED light strip. That actually looks like a lot of work. Still interested? Let's get started. Like I mentioned, I will be using an acrylic fauna box. I use these boxes a lot since the price is really good, but they get scratches very fast. So if I'm not careful enough, they will last for one use only. The first thing I always do is to add the tube adapter. I use my Dremel to make holes on the sides, big enough for the adapter to fit. It's looking pretty smooth screwing in the bolt, but let me show you on the other side. That hole looks terrible if you look up close. But watch what the adapters will do. It's looking pretty neat and clean, and with this adapter it's very easy to attach or remove your tubing. Now let's measure up the container, so we know the sizes for when we are making the lid and for the plexiglass Outworld. As you can tell by my beautiful handwriting, the fauna box is 27 by 17. I'm going to add 3 to 5 mm on my plexi plate, since I want it in a slight angle. And I don't want the wall to go all the way up, to prevent them from climbing the lid, so the size will be 27.5 by 14. Now it's time to start scratching the lines with a sharp object. Repeat the process a lot and do it on both sides, so you're absolutely sure that the cracks are deep enough to break. Apply some pressure on the cracks you just made. If the cracks are deep enough, your plexi plate will come right off. I made 3 holes on the bottom, one on the left, one on the right and one in the middle. I used my Dremel tool to carve these out. These entry holes are for the ants to enter the area where they can dig. They start at the bottom and work their way up. I know it's not very logical, but it will turn out amazing, trust me. And now, the most satisfying part, pulling the protection off. Put your plexi plate in the position you want it to be. Like I mentioned before, mine will be in a slight angle, so they have one narrow side and one wider side. Make sure to glue all sides, left, bottom and right. I even applied a second layer for the bottom. Let it dry for 24 hours if you would like to proceed with working on your container. It's pretty hard to get a nice and constant amount of glue. Use your finger afterwards to make sure the glue is nice and evenly spread out. While the glue needs to harden, we can make our lid with LED. Take 2 pieces of wood for the lid. One is slightly larger than the container and the other one is a little bit smaller. For the larger one I increase every side with 5 mm and decreasing the size for the smaller one with 2 mm on each side. Since I didn't mention a saw, we'll be using magic. Get both pieces of wood and put them on top of each other. Of course, as perfectly in the middle as you can. I lost a lot of the footage, but the idea is to make some ventilation holes. I made 3 using my hole saw bit. If you would like some lighting in your setup, make sure you create a 4th and smaller hole. This is where the cabling goes through. You can use scissors to get your mesh at the right size. And then just put it between the 2 plates afterwards. It's not the most aesthetic option, but it's a cheap one. I have a lot of containers and I use this method a lot. Before painting your lid, make sure the 2 plates are attached together. You could use glue or nails or 4 screws in every corner like I did. Just make sure the paint you're using isn't toxic. Let the paint dry out before letting your ends even near it. Once the paint is completely dry, you can attach the LED lighting. Get the LED strip and pull it through the 4th hole you made. And attach the LED on the lid in a circle, so the entire room will receive light. You can cut away the excess LED, it's not a problem at all. I lost the footage where I show my substrate and how I fill up the area where the ants can dig. Basically I made some clay balls and placed a couple of them on the bottom 25% if I ever want to hydrate for some magical reason. I also made sure to add some twigs. This is to prevent the entire structure to collapse if I ever have to move them somewhere else. You can see them here, over here, and the last one on the top. This is how I positioned them. The colony is housed beneath one of those twigs. All the chambers you see here are made in one day. They have been working non-stop. It's very unfortunate that I can't find the footage of me decorating the setup. Just make sure you apply some pressure on their digging site. Loose sand won't be any good and their structure would collapse more easy. I added 2 plastic plants and attached those with hot glue at the bottom. The Outworld received some stones as well, but I didn't want to decorate too much since my Messor always makes a mess. This setup will last for a while and I'm pretty happy with the result. In the next video I will be showing you the big move. I will move them into their new setup and you'll see that they'll start digging right away. I have made some amazing shots of the majors, the new setup and their insanely fast built tunnels, so make sure to check it out in the next video. At first I wanted to add a video with some of the shots I made, but I'll be keeping those for next week. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments. And if you have any questions about the materials, I will post everything I used in the description. Making a setup like this takes effort, but filming the entire process makes it even harder. So I would appreciate it a lot if you would like, comment and subscribe. And hopefully I will be seeing you in the next video.